My girlfriend mocked me just okay at her sister's wedding, so I took back the $16,500 ring, moved out overnight, and watched karma bankrupt her completely. I, 29, male now, was 25 when this all went down. I work in commercial real estate, specifically industrial properties and warehouse developments. It's not the most exciting job in the world, but it pays really well. Around $185,000 a year base salary, plus commissions that can bump it up to $250,000 in good years. I drive a BMW M3 and have a nice condo downtown in Austin with a view of the lake, the whole package. I'm not trying to show off, I'm just setting the scene because this becomes super important later in the story. I was dating this girl, Brittany, for almost 3 years. I met her at a friend's house party during a 4th of July barbecue. She was absolutely gorgeous. Blonde hair that looked like it belonged in a shampoo commercial, piercing green eyes, and a perfect figure. The kind of girl who could stop traffic just walking down the street. Seriously, heads would turn everywhere we went. But here's the thing I should have paid attention to from the very start. She was always super interested in what I did for work, how much money I made, what kind of car I drove, where I lived, and what my family's financial situation was like. Looking back now, the red flags were everywhere. But I was 22 and thinking with the wrong head. You know, Brittany worked part-time at some high-end boutique clothing store in the fancy shopping district, making maybe $28,000 a year if she was lucky. But this girl lived like she was making 6 figures easily. She always had the newest iPhone the day it came out, designer bags that cost more than most people's rent, and expensive clothes with tags I couldn't even pronounce. She got her nails done every 2 weeks at some fancy salon and had monthly spa treatments. The works. I'm not stupid. I knew I was paying for most of her lifestyle, but I thought that's what you do when you love someone, right? You want to spoil them and make them happy. Boy, was I wrong about everything, but we'll get to that. My best friend, Carlos, always called her Bratney instead of Brittany, which used to really annoy me, but now I realize he was spot on from day one. Carlos is this hilarious guy who works in construction management. He built his way up from nothing, but he's sharp as a razor when it comes to reading people. He could see right through her fake smile and materialistic nonsense from the very first time I introduced them. The guy has incredible instincts. Bro, that chick is going to drain your bank account dry and leave you for someone with a bigger wallet. He told me like 100 times over those 3 years. Mark my words, she's just window shopping until she finds a better deal. You're like a practice boyfriend for her. I should have listened to Carlos. The guy has this sixth sense about people, especially fake ones. He grew up poor with a single mom and had to work for everything he got since he was 14, so he can spot a gold digger from a mile away. His radar for that stuff is unreal. So anyway, Brittany's sister, Madison, was getting married to this attorney named Richard, who was absolutely loaded, seriously, ridiculously loaded. He was a senior partner at one of those big downtown law firms, drove a Porsche 911 Turbo that cost more than most houses, and lived in a $2.8 million mansion in the hills with a pool and tennis court. The guy was everything Brittany thought she deserved. The wedding was at some exclusive country club that probably cost more to join than most people make in 5 years. I'd been thinking about proposing for months and months. I had already picked out the perfect ring after spending weeks researching and visiting jewelry stores. A 2.5-carat princess-cut diamond in a platinum setting that cost me $16,500. Yeah, $16,500. That's more than some people's cars. I worked overtime for 8 months straight to save up for that thing. I barely went out with friends, ate packed lunches every single day, skipped vacations, sold my motorcycle, and canceled my gym membership to save money. But I thought Brittany was worth every sacrifice. I thought we were building something real and lasting together. The plan was to propose after the wedding, back at our apartment. I had rose petals ordered from this fancy florist, about 50 candles to set up around the living room, champagne chilling in the fridge, the whole romantic movie-style setup planned out down to the minute. I'd even written a 3-page speech that I'd been practicing in the mirror for weeks, memorizing every word. The ring was burning a hole in my jacket pocket the entire reception, and I kept touching it nervously every few minutes. Here's where it gets really interesting, though, and where I discovered who Brittany really was. During the reception, around 9 in the evening, I overheard Brittany talking to her cousin Ashley by the dessert table near the back corner of the ballroom. I was coming back from the restroom, and they didn't see me approach because there was this big floral arrangement blocking their view. "Oh my God, Madison is so incredibly lucky," Brittany was saying, her voice dripping with envy. "Did you see the rock on her finger? That thing has to be at least 4 carats, maybe 5. And that house they just bought in Westlake, I looked it up online yesterday, $2.8 million freaking dollars. Can you even imagine living like that?" What about Mike, though? Ashley asked, glancing around to make sure I wasn't nearby. You guys have been together forever. Think he'll propose soon? He seems pretty serious about you. Brittany actually laughed, but not in a good way. It was this cold, calculating laugh that made my blood freeze. Mike's sweet and all, and he tries really hard, but he's not exactly Madison level, you know? I mean, he does okay for a real estate guy. Makes decent money, I guess, but I'm nowhere near ready to settle for just okay when I know I could do so much better if I really tried. My blood went absolutely cold. Settle for okay. I made more money than 90% of guys our age, treated her like absolute royalty, bought her everything she wanted, and she thought I was just okay, just something to settle for. So what are you going to do? Ashley asked, clearly uncomfortable with the conversation. I honestly don't know yet. Maybe stick with him for now while I keep my options open and see what else is out there. I'm only 24. I've got plenty of time to find someone with real money, like serious money, the kind of money where I never have to work again if I don't want to. I backed away before they could see me, my hands literally shaking with rage and disbelief. Everything Carlos had been warning me about for 3 years was true. I was just a placeholder, a comfortable meal ticket until something bigger and better came along. She was using me. But here's the thing about me. I'm not the type to just roll over and take that kind of treatment. If Brittany wanted to play games and use people, I could play games too, and I was about to become very good at it. The bouquet toss happened about an hour after I overheard Brittany's lovely conversation with her cousin. The DJ announced it was time, and all the single ladies gathered around on the dance floor, including Brittany. She was giggling and joking with her cousins and friends, trying to look like she wasn't really trying to catch it. But I could see her positioning herself strategically right in the sweet spot where most bouquets land. Madison, looking absolutely radiant in her $15,000 wedding dress, stood on the little stage they'd set up and turned her back to the crowd. She threw the bouquet high in the air in a perfect arc, and it came down right into Brittany's waiting hands like it was meant to be, like the universe was setting up the perfect ironic moment. Everyone started cheering and clapping enthusiastically. Madison was taking pictures with her phone, grinning from ear to ear. Brittany's mom started crying, those happy tears that mothers get at weddings. The whole family was looking at us with these huge expectant grins, clearly anticipating some kind of romantic moment. The band even started playing a slow romantic song in the background. I was standing there about 10 feet away with a completely fake smile plastered on my face. That $16,500 ring feeling like it weighed 1,000 pounds in my pocket. The irony wasn't lost on me. Here she was catching the bouquet, everyone expecting an engagement while she'd just been talking about how I wasn't good enough for her, and she was keeping her options open for someone better. That's when Brittany looked directly at me with this weird, almost smug expression on her face. She was still holding the bouquet like some kind of trophy, and in front of everyone, her family, my family, all our friends, probably 80 people total. She said loud enough for half the ballroom to hear, "Don't get any ideas, Mike. I'm nowhere near ready to settle for someone at your level." The entire reception went dead silent. Completely, totally silent. The band literally stopped playing mid-song. You could hear a pin drop in that massive ballroom. Everyone was staring at us with their mouths hanging open. Her family, my family, all our friends, even people we didn't know. I saw my mom's face across the room, and she looked absolutely mortified and confused. My dad was clenching his jaw so hard I thought he might actually break a tooth. Some of the older relatives looked like they'd been slapped. Carlos, who was standing right next to me with a glass of soda, whispered, "Holy cow, bro," under his breath. But even his whisper seemed loud in the silence. But here's the absolutely crazy part. Brittany didn't even look embarrassed or sorry. She was actually smiling like she just made some clever, witty joke that everyone should appreciate. The entitlement was absolutely unreal. She actually seemed proud of herself for putting me in my place publicly. I somehow managed to keep my voice completely steady and said, "Good to know exactly where we stand, Brittany. Thanks for clearing that up." The DJ, clearly sensing the awkwardness, started playing music again, but the damage was done. People were whispering and stealing glances at us. Some of the older relatives looked genuinely scandalized. Madison looked like she wanted to disappear into the floor from embarrassment. A few people actually got up and left their tables. The rest of the reception was pure torture for me. People kept coming up asking if I was okay, giving me those awful pity looks that make you feel even worse. My aunt pulled me aside and asked if Brittany had been under stress lately because that outburst wasn't like her at all. Carlos stuck by my side the whole time, making jokes to try to lighten the mood and distract me. But even his legendary sense of humor couldn't salvage that complete disaster. "Dude, what the heck was that about?" he asked when we finally got a moment alone by the bar. "Did she just publicly humiliate you in front of your entire family at her sister's wedding?" "Yep," I said, surprisingly calm. Considering the circumstances, she sure did.
What are you going to do about it?
I looked across the room at Brittany, who was laughing and taking selfies with her friends like absolutely nothing had happened. She was showing off the bouquet to people like it was some kind of trophy she'd won. I'm going to give her exactly what she deserves, Carlos. Exactly what she's asking for. The car ride home was honestly the worst part of the entire evening. Brittany acted like absolutely nothing had happened. She was scrolling through Instagram, posting pictures from the wedding, completely oblivious to the nuclear bomb she'd just dropped on our relationship. She was even humming along to the radio. That was so much fun, she said casually, not even looking up from her phone screen. Madison looked absolutely gorgeous. Did you see how expensive everything was? The flowers alone probably cost more than your car payment. That ice sculpture was insane. Her new husband really knows how to treat a woman the right way. More little digs at my finances and lifestyle. I was completely done with her at that point. Yeah, I said, gripping the steering wheel so tight my knuckles were white. Really eye-opening night, very educational. She didn't even catch the sarcasm dripping from my voice. Back at our apartment, Brittany went through her usual nighttime routine like it was any other evening. She took off her makeup with those expensive cleansing wipes, changed into one of my old college t-shirts that she'd basically claimed as her own property, and started talking about some petty drama with her coworkers at the boutique, involving someone stealing someone else's sales commission. I'm absolutely exhausted, she said, getting into our bed like nothing had changed. But it was such a perfect, magical wedding. I can't wait until it's my turn someday to have something that beautiful. Your turn? I asked, testing the waters and seeing what she'd say. You know, when I eventually find the right guy, someone who can really take care of me the way I deserve to be taken care of, someone truly successful who understands what I need. The audacity was absolutely incredible. She was literally lying in my bed wearing my shirt in my apartment that I paid rent for, talking casually about finding someone else to take care of her properly because I apparently wasn't cutting it. Well, I said, keeping my voice completely neutral. I really hope you find exactly what you're looking for, Brittany. She was asleep within minutes, probably dreaming about her future rich husband. All that gold digging and scheming really wears you out, I guess. I sat there in the dark for about an hour just watching her sleep and thinking about what Carlos had been telling me for months and months. This girl had been using me from day one of our relationship. The expensive dinners where she always forgot her wallet. The shopping trips where she'd pout until I bought her whatever she wanted. The rent money I'd been covering when she conveniently came up short every single month. The car payments I helped with. The credit card bills I'd paid off. It was all part of her master plan to live above her means while searching for someone better. The more I thought about it, the angrier I got. Not just about tonight, but about everything over the past 3 years. The way she always mysteriously forgot her wallet when we went out to eat. How she'd give me the silent treatment until I bought her things she wanted. The way she'd compare me to other guys' success right to my face. How she'd talk about her friends' boyfriends who made more money or drove nicer cars. I'd been so completely blind to what was happening. Around 2 in the morning, I knew exactly what I had to do. The plan formed in my head perfectly. I went to the kitchen and pulled out the ring box from my jacket pocket. I sat at the kitchen table and stared at it for a long time, thinking about those 8 months of overtime. All those packed lunches instead of buying food. All the times I'd said no to hanging out with friends because I was saving every penny for this ring. All the sacrifices I'd made for someone who saw me as just temporary. Then I opened the box, took out the ring, and put it back in the fireproof safe where I keep my important documents and papers. The empty ring box went right on the kitchen counter where she'd definitely see it first thing in the morning. I wrote a note on a piece of paper in my neat handwriting. Found someone at my level. Hope you find someone at yours, don't contact me. Then I started packing. And this time, I wasn't just grabbing clothes for a few days. I was moving out completely and permanently. See, here's something Brittany had never bothered to find out. The apartment lease was only in my name. She never wanted to get added to it because paperwork is so boring and complicated. You handle all that business stuff. I packed everything that mattered to me and everything that was actually mine. My gaming setup that I'd built myself, all my clothes, important documents, family photos, my collection of vintage watches that my grandfather left me, my books, my tools, everything with sentimental value. I left behind all the stuff I'd bought her over the years, the designer bags, the jewelry, the expensive perfumes, the fancy coffee machine she just had to have, the expensive skincare products, all of it. If she wanted to keep living like a rich girl, she could figure out how to pay for it herself with her part-time boutique job. I also did something a little petty, but honestly, I don't feel bad about it at all. I changed every single streaming service password. Netflix, Spotify, Amazon Prime, HBO Max, Disney Plus, Hulu. Basically every entertainment service she used daily that was tied to my credit cards and accounts. I also removed her as an authorized user on my credit cards and canceled the supplementary card I'd given her. Small victories, but satisfying ones. The best part of my plan, I'd already been looking at a new place closer to my office for months. I just hadn't pulled the trigger because I thought Brittany and I were building a life together. Turns out that new place was available for immediate move-in. And when I called the landlord at 3 in the morning and explained I needed to move as soon as possible, he was happy to do a quick background check for someone with my credit score and income level. By 4 in the morning, I was completely finished packing. I took one last look around the apartment, our apartment that was about to become her very expensive problem to solve alone, and left my keys right next to the empty ring box on the counter. Carlos helped me move my stuff that same morning. I called him at 5 in the morning, and he showed up at 6 in the morning with his pickup truck and a huge grin on his face, plus coffee and donuts. "Bro, this is, honestly, the most savage thing you've ever done," he said as we loaded my gaming chair into his truck. "She's going to completely lose her mind when she wakes up and realizes what happened." "That's exactly the idea," I said, feeling lighter and more free than I had in months. "What's your long-term plan now?" "Simple. Let her figure out how to live at her actual financial level instead of mine. See how long her attitude lasts when she has to pay her own bills." Brittany's first text came around 11 in the morning, and I could practically hear the panic through the phone. "Where are you? All your stuff is gone. What's going on?" I didn't respond. Part 1 of my plan was complete silence. Then about 20 minutes later, "What the heck is this empty box supposed to mean? Call me right now, this isn't funny." Still nothing from me. I was at my new apartment setting up my gaming system and enjoying the peace. By noon, she was calling repeatedly. I sent every single call straight to voicemail, but I saved them all because they were absolutely entertaining to listen to. The progression from confusion to anger to panic was incredible. "Mike, what is wrong with you? You can't just disappear like this. I don't understand what that stupid note means. Call me back right now. This isn't funny anymore." The desperation in her voice was something I'd never heard before in 3 years of dating. Gone was the sweet, innocent girlfriend act. This was the real Brittany, entitled, demanding, and absolutely furious that her comfortable meal ticket had suddenly vanished. Message 2, about an hour later. "Mike, I'm serious. You better call me back immediately. I don't know what kind of stupid game you think you're playing, but I'm not laughing. Where did you go? Did you seriously take all your stuff?" Message 3, evening. "Okay, I'm starting to get really scared. Please just call me back and tell me you're okay. We can work through whatever this is about. I promise we can fix this." Carlos came over to my new place that evening with pizza and updates from his extensive network of gossipy relatives who somehow always know everything that's happening in our social circle. "Dude, you absolutely have to hear this," he said, pulling out his phone with a huge grin. "Ashley called my cousin Rosa, who called my sister Maria, who called me. The whole extended family is talking about what happened last night." "And what are they saying?" "Brittany showed up at her parents' house this morning, crying hysterically saying you abandoned her and she doesn't understand why. But get this, Madison is absolutely furious with her because she thinks Brittany completely ruined her wedding with that bouquet comment. Her exact words to their parents were, 'Brittany embarrassed our entire family with her gold digger nonsense.'" I almost choked on my pizza. Madison actually said that. Apparently she's been watching Brittany's behavior and attitude for years and was already annoyed that I was paying for everything in the relationship. When Brittany humiliated me publicly at the wedding, Madison completely lost it. She told their parents that Brittany needed to grow up and stop using men like personal ATMs, and that she was embarrassed to be related to someone so shallow. This was even better than I'd hoped for. Brittany wasn't just losing me, she was losing her family support and respect too. Day 2 brought even more frantic texts. "Mike, please just talk to me. I don't have anywhere to go. The rent is due next week, and I don't have nearly enough money. I'm sorry if I said something wrong at the wedding. I was just joking around with the bouquet thing and didn't mean anything by it. You can't just leave me with no explanation. We've been together for 3 years. That has to count for something." That last one really got to me emotionally. 3 years. 3 years of paying for her lifestyle while she openly talked about trading up to someone better. 3 years of being her personal bank account while she kept her options open for a richer guy. But I stayed strong and didn't respond. Carlos reminded me every single day, she made her choice, bro. Now she gets to live with the consequences. Week 2 is when things got really interesting, and Brittany had to face some harsh realities. She simply couldn't afford our apartment on her $28,000 boutique salary, not even close. The rent alone was $2,400 a month, which was basically her entire take-home pay after taxes, leaving nothing for food, utilities, car payment, insurance, or anything else. Her texts became increasingly desperate and revealing. "Mike, I'm literally begging you, please help me. I can't afford this place on my own. Can we at least talk about splitting the rent until I figure things out? I'll pay you back. I had to ask my parents for money. Do you know how absolutely embarrassing that is for a 24-year-old? Please just tell me exactly what I did wrong so I can fix it. I'll do anything. I'll change. Carlos kept me updated on all the family drama through his network of gossipy relatives who love sharing information. Apparently, Brittany's parents told her they'd help with exactly 1 month of rent, but after that, she was completely on her own. They were deeply disappointed in how she'd treated such a nice, generous young man and thought this might be a good learning experience for their daughter. Even better news, word had gotten around their entire social circle about what happened at the wedding. Mutual friends were taking sides, and the vast majority of them were Team Mike. Brittany was getting frozen out of group hangouts, parties, and social events. She's becoming absolutely toxic to be around, one of our mutual friends told Carlos. All she does is complain about you and ask if anyone knows single guys with money. It's really pathetic and desperate. By week 3, Brittany had to swallow her pride completely and move back in with her parents, a 24-year-old college graduate moving back into her childhood bedroom because she couldn't afford her own life. The shame and embarrassment must have been absolutely killing her. Her social media posts became increasingly bitter and passive-aggressive, with lots of quotes about fake people, learning who your real friends are, and everything happening for a reason. She posted a selfie from her old bedroom with the caption, "Sometimes you have to take a step back to move forward. Blessed new beginnings." The comments were mostly from her mom and a few distant relatives trying to be supportive, but the best part was yet to come, and it was going to be spectacular. Month 2 brought a development I definitely didn't see coming, but it turned out to be the most entertaining part of this whole story. Brittany started dating this guy named Trevor, who she met at some upscale cocktail lounge downtown. Trevor drove a Mercedes S-Class, wore expensive suits, carried himself like some kind of Wall Street hotshot, and threw money around like he was Jeff Bezos. At first, I'll be completely honest, I was bothered. Was she already replacing me with some genuinely rich dude? Had she actually managed to trade up like she'd always planned? Did her strategy actually work? But Carlos, being the absolute genius investigator he is, did some serious social media stalking and detective work and found some very interesting information about this Trevor character. "Bro, you're absolutely not going to believe this," he said, showing up at my place with a huge grin in his laptop. "Trevor isn't rich at all, not even close. He's a wannabe day trader and crypto investor who's actually in debt up to his eyeballs. That Mercedes, leased with money he doesn't have. Those expensive clothes, all bought with credit cards. Dude's broker than broke, but putting on this massive, elaborate show. How do you possibly know all this?" My cousin Rosa works at the bank where he got turned down for a business loan last month. Apparently, his credit score is so bad they wouldn't even give him a secured credit card. She said his debt-to-income ratio was absolutely frightening, and he owed over $80,000 on various credit cards. This was getting really, really good. Brittany started posting constantly on social media about her amazing new boyfriend and their expensive dates, photos at fancy steakhouses, weekend trips to nice hotels, shopping sprees at high-end stores downtown. She was living it up, probably thinking she'd finally found her perfect sugar daddy who would fund her dream lifestyle. The posts were clearly designed to make me jealous and show me what I was missing, with captions like, "When he treats you like the queen you are," "Spoiled, blessed, and finally found someone who actually knows my worth," "Real men, smart luxury." She even posted a picture of an expensive bracelet with the caption, "Some men actually know how to spoil their woman properly." For about 6 weeks, it looked like Brittany had gotten everything she'd always wanted and dreamed of. Then Trevor's entire house of cards came crashing down spectacularly, and it was absolutely beautiful to watch from a distance. Turns out when you're already maxed out on credit cards, living paycheck to paycheck, and you start dating a high-maintenance gold digger who expects expensive dinners 3 times a week, weekend trips, and shopping sprees, things go south very, very quickly. Carlos got the complete inside scoop from Rosa, who heard it from multiple sources. Trevor's credit cards started getting canceled one by one. His car got repossessed from the restaurant parking lot during one of their dates, and he had to move back in with his parents when his apartment lease wasn't renewed. The whole fake lifestyle collapsed in a matter of days. She literally broke up with him in the parking lot of that fancy steakhouse downtown when his card got declined for the 3rd time that week, Carlos told me, barely able to contain his laughter. Rosa heard it from her friend who was their server that night. Brittany threw a complete screaming scene, yelling about how he was a fraud and she couldn't believe she wasted her time with another broke loser who lied to her. The irony was absolutely perfect and beautiful. Brittany went from me actually successful and financially stable, to Trevor, fake successful and actually broke, back to absolutely nothing. All because she was too greedy and entitled to appreciate what she'd had. Her social media went completely dark for about 2 weeks after that disaster. When she finally posted again, it was just generic motivational quotes about staying strong through difficult times. Better days are coming, and everything happens for a reason. Now, Here's where the story gets really satisfying, and exactly why I waited 4 years to tell this whole incredible tale. While Brittany was going through her downward spiral of failed relationships and mounting financial disasters, my life was getting better and better every single month. I got promoted to senior commercial broker, started making $240,000 a year, plus bigger commission checks. I closed a massive industrial development deal that netted me an $85,000 bonus in one payment. The rental property investments I'd been making started paying off big time with steady monthly income. I also started dating again, taking my time and being much more careful about red flags. I met this incredible woman named Claire, who's a nurse practitioner at the Children's Hospital. She makes her own money, has her own goals and ambitions, owns her own condo, drives her own car, and treats me like a genuine partner instead of a walking ATM machine. We've been together for 3 amazing years now, and just bought a beautiful house together in the hills outside Austin with a view of the lake. Claire is everything Brittany wasn't and never could be. Independent, kind, genuinely interested in me as a person rather than my bank account balance, supportive of my goals, and actually contributes equally to our relationship. When I told her the whole story about Brittany, she was completely shocked that anyone could be so shallow and cruel to someone they claimed to love. But the real satisfaction, the moment I'd been waiting for, came just last month. I was having lunch at this nice cafe downtown, reading some property development reports when my phone rang. It was an unknown number, but I recognized the area code as local. I almost didn't answer because I get a lot of sales calls, but something told me to pick up. "Mike, it's Brittany." I nearly dropped my sandwich. After 4 years of complete silence, she was calling me. "Brittany, this is definitely unexpected." "Yeah, listen, I know this is really weird and awkward, but I desperately need to talk to you. Could we maybe meet for coffee or something, please? I'm really hoping you'll hear me out." The desperation in her voice was incredible and unlike anything I'd ever heard from her. This wasn't the confident, entitled girl who'd humiliated me at her sister's wedding. This was someone who sounded like life had completely beaten her down and broken her spirit. "Sure," I said, genuinely curious about what could have driven her to call me after all this time. "How about that Starbucks on 6th Street, 1 hour?" I immediately called Carlos with the update. "Dude, you're absolutely not going to believe this. Brittany just called me out of nowhere. No freaking way. After 4 years, what did she want, to meet for coffee?" She sounded completely desperate and broken. "I'm going to hear her out just for entertainment value." "Bro, be really careful. She's probably going to try to get her claws back in you somehow. Not going to happen in a million years, but I'm really curious what she wants after all this time." An hour later, I was sitting in Starbucks waiting for Brittany. When she walked through the door, I honestly barely recognized her. The designer clothes were completely gone, replaced by jeans that looked like they came from Walmart and a sweater that had definitely seen better days. Her hair looked like she'd been cutting it herself with kitchen scissors. She'd gained probably 30 to 40 pounds and looked absolutely exhausted, like she hadn't slept properly in months. This was definitely not the glamorous gold digger who'd rejected me for not being her level. "Hi, Mike," she said quietly, sliding into the chair across from me. "Thank you so much for meeting me. I honestly wasn't sure you'd even answer my call." "No problem at all. What's going on, Brittany?" She took a long, shaky breath. "I'll just come right out and say it. I'm in really, really bad trouble. Like the worst trouble of my life. I've been struggling ever since you left. I can't find a decent job anywhere that pays enough to live on. I'm drowning in credit card debt, and I'm about to get evicted from my apartment again." "Sorry to hear that," I said, genuinely not feeling sorry for her at all. "I know I messed up terribly. What I said at Madison's wedding was horrible and cruel, and I've regretted it every single day since then. I was young and stupid and immature, and I didn't realize what I had with you." "Okay," I said, waiting patiently for the inevitable ask that was coming. "I was wondering, I know it's a huge thing to ask, but could you maybe help me out financially? Just a loan to get back on my feet. I swear on my life, I'll pay you back every single penny with interest." And there it was, the girl who'd publicly humiliated me, who'd called me not her level, who'd used me as a meal ticket for 3 years while actively shopping for someone better, was now sitting across from me, literally begging for money. I leaned back in my chair and smiled. "How much money are we talking about here?" "Well, I owe about $12,000 in credit card debt, and my rent is $1,100 a month. Plus I need money for food and gas and basic necessities, so maybe $18,000 total. I know it's a lot of money, but..." $18,000, I interrupted. "That's a very interesting amount. I know it's a huge favor, but Mike, I'm absolutely desperate. I've tried everything else. You're literally the only person I know who's doing well enough to help me out of this mess." I pulled out my phone and showed her a picture. "You know what this is?" She looked confused and squinted at the screen. "A ring?" This is the ring I was going to give you that night, the night you told everyone, at your sister's wedding, that I wasn't good enough for you. Cost me $16,500. Almost exactly what you're asking me for right now. Her face went completely white, and she looked like she might throw up. Mike, You humiliated me in front of both our families and all our friends. You used me for 3 years while openly talking about trading up to someone with more money. You called me a placeholder to your cousin, thinking I couldn't hear you. You made me feel like garbage for not being wealthy enough for your standards. And now you want me to bail you out of your problems. Tears started streaming down her face. Please, Mike, I know I was terrible to you. I know I don't deserve your help at all, but I'm literally begging you. I don't have anyone else to turn to. My parents won't help me anymore. I stood up slowly and looked down at her. You're absolutely right about one thing, Brittany. You don't deserve my help. You made it crystal clear that I wasn't at your level. Well, congratulations. You finally found someone who actually is at your level. I started to walk away, then turned back for the final blow. Oh, and Brittany, that ring. I gave it to Claire when I proposed to her 6 months ago. She said yes immediately. No hesitation, no conditions, no comments about my level or whether she could do better. Funny how that works when someone actually appreciates what they have instead of always looking for something better. I left her crying in that Starbucks. Carlos was waiting in the parking lot. I texted him to pick me up because I knew I'd want to celebrate after witnessing that beautiful moment of karma. How'd it go? He asked as I got in his truck, grinning. Exactly like we thought it would. She wanted money. A lot of money to fix her life. Did you give her any? I gave her exactly what she deserved. Absolutely nothing. Carlos high-fived me enthusiastically. Bro, that's the most beautiful thing I've ever heard. Justice served ice cold after 4 years. 2 weeks later, I heard through the grapevine that Brittany had to declare bankruptcy and move back across the country to live with her elderly aunt in some tiny rural town in Oklahoma, where the cost of living is basically nothing. The girl who thought she was too good for a successful real estate broker ended up losing everything because she was too greedy and entitled to appreciate what she had.